If you are new to this channel and enjoy the content that you see, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to be alerted and notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel, along with following me on these social media platforms to stay connected with me at all times. Also, feel free to check out all of your favorite videos and playlists located down in the description box below. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. With Halloween 2018 scheduled to debut this October, fans of the Halloween community are begging the question, are they going to follow up and make a sequel to this year's Halloween 2018 movie? Now, before we start diving into the potential of a Halloween 2018 sequel, we have 4 brand new images just revealed for the upcoming 2018 Halloween movie, which is very gruesome in nature and which we're about to go through right now. As the first you guys can see on screen, we have ourselves a shot of what seems to be one of the mechanics that were in the shop shown in the trailer, with all of his teeth missing from his mouth. Now, presumably enough, this is the same individual based on the evidence provided that Michael uses his teeth in pouring that down the stall in the trailer. So this poor individual not only gets his teeth ripped out, but also, assumingly enough, based on what he's wearing, has his clothes jacked as well. So this is pretty interesting because it just goes to show how gruesome this film is going to be, and I really do enjoy the texture and the way this movie is being presented, in the fact that Michael has been kept away for 40 years, and now that he's out on the loose, he's really not holding back. As we go into the second shot having to be shown here, which is a throwback to the classic 1978 film, with Michael having to use the sheets in disguising himself as the boogeyman. We have the pumpkin in the fish tank, which we saw in the trailer. Now, what I really enjoy about this is seeing the overall eeriness that is of Michael, because that was what made Michael Myers so dangerous and so intimidating in the originals, was the fact that you just didn't know what he would do. And now he's just sitting here, assumingly this is him, just waiting for his victim to come on by as he begins his night of terror in his pursuit of looking for Laurie Strode. So I'm really enjoying the concept of Michael playing the role of the boogeyman once more. As we pan into the next image having to be shown here, what seems to be that of a police officer having to stumble across a body. Now, this body, we can't really tell based on detail who exactly it is, or if it's potentially another officer, but from what it looks like that it is another officer. So I'm only assuming here that Michael goes on a killing spree in wiping out anybody that gets in his way, which again is typical Michael, especially if you decide to get in his way, which we go into the next shot having to be shown here, and it looks like this individual just had a very rough night. Why? Because not only is his throat slit, but he also has something lodged within his skull as well. So this man here really had a bad night, and right next to him, from what it looks like, it's a face, it's a head, possibly somebody's decapitated head, Michael having to light it up like some sort of a pumpkin. It's absolutely crazy to even look at this image to begin with, because it's so gory and gruesome in nature that it really gives off that vibe that Michael isn't playing around anymore. And I really love the severity of how Michael goes about this film, in the fact that he's very violent in nature. Now, when it comes to the potential of a sequel having to follow this film, the original concept behind there being an actual sequel was supposed to take place 1 year later. So of course in 2019 they were already going to make another Halloween film, but they've put that on hold. Now, is there a possibility for us to see a sequel having to follow Halloween 2018? Yes, if the movie is successful in the box office, and of course if the audience loves what they've seen, which of course is very subjective, because you are going to have people that are going to hate the film just because it's not Halloween 9, or it's not taking place after Resurrection, or you're going to have people that are going to praise the film just because they love the concept of this having to take place after the first Halloween film 40 years later. Now, depending on how you look at this movie is going to be an alternate reality, not entirely discontinuing the originals, but more or less following a different guideline in what if this were to be the concept of what happened following the original. Now, we have to look at it from 3 points of views. If they were to make a sequel, how exactly would they do that? Now, a few concepts of this would be either having Michael kill off Laurie Strode and he ends up fading out into the darkness, or in some weird way, shape, or form, nothing happens. Either Michael lives on and so does Laurie, but they're both really injured to the point where Michael escapes, but so does Laurie with her life. Or we could see the potential of Laurie killing off Michael, but something happens with her along the way as well. Because if you look at the concept of what's happening in this film, it's really hard to dictate what's going to be the outcome of Michael and Laurie. We could have Michael kill Laurie, we can have Laurie kill Michael, we can have them both die at the exact same place at the exact same time. They can both end up killing each other, one of them ends up surviving. So it's very hard to pace and dictate where this might go, because we don't know in which direction they're planning on going in, especially now if Michael really ends up being immortal instead of being the supernatural entity that we've all known in the previous movies. Now this is where you guys come in. Comment down below as to how you guys believe a sequel could work if they end up actually doing that in the foreseeable future, because if you believe this is going to be the final Halloween movie ever, no, they could easily reboot, remake, or revamp the franchise 10, 20, 30 years from now, however they want to do so. They can easily make a Halloween 9, 15 years from now, or they can make a Halloween 2000 sequel next year. It all varies on profit, it all varies on the direction of the story, so I would like to know down below, if you guys were to see a sequel for this film, how would you guys do it? Because the outcomes of this film are very short and slim in nature, because you only have a few possibilities that may end up happening. Either Michael lives, Michael dies, Laurie lives, Laurie dies, Laurie's children live, or maybe in fact Laurie's children die. Anything could happen. Now I've seen comments before where some people have suggested that perhaps maybe Michael Myers had died a very long time ago, and everything that's happening right now is simply in Laurie's head, which ultimately means that Michael no longer exists, and all of the traumatic, stress and disorders that she's went through this entire time, having to go through anxiety, having to go through revisiting the events of 1978, has been stuck in her mind so much that she's no longer sane anymore, but instead she really does believe that Michael's on the loose, but all in reality, she's the one that's basically the killer here, which is a wonky concept in and of itself, but again, this is why we have a community in speculating and theorizing as to what may or may not happen. Now again, if this movie is successful, which I do believe it can be, and maybe it will be, and the audience reaction isn't what the directors and producers want, then I don't really see them making a movie having to follow Halloween 2018. Just because something is supremely successful does not mean that in the long run we're going to see a follow-up to said product. Of course, that could be adapted to many things. People have paid money and hated certain products like Sharknado as an example, but that ultimately ended up continuing, as the same can be said about Saw and so many other products and or movies. So for this, the only way I can see them walking away with some kind of a sequel is if they leave some sort of an open ending to where Michael ends up surviving somehow, which carries on into another film. Now, of course, this could lead into the concept of Laurie believing that maybe she's fully killed off Michael, but in fact, in some way, shape, or form, all she managed to do was severely damage him, but he's still alive, even though that would kind of be similar to what we saw at the end of Halloween 1 carrying on over into Halloween 2 when he followed her into the hospital. But then again, Laurie has kids now, and she also has grandkids, so I do believe that with Michael's motives, he ought to shift his motives from not only targeting Laurie, but also targeting her kids, also targeting her grandkids, because what better way to get to somebody than targeting their family? And I feel like that would put Laurie in a situation to where now she's not just fighting for herself, she's fighting for the namesake of her family to protect her daughters. Now again, that all varies on what happens in this particular movie, because they already have plans in continuing this and making this into a potential ongoing series with another film having to follow this one, and then maybe after that continuing so on and so forth. But again, that all varies on the product itself. Now for me, I think this movie ought to be the be-all end-all finale, because if you were to continue to produce more Halloween films, then you're further going to have to justify as to how and why Michael keeps coming back in his pursuit of Laurie Strode and or Laurie Strode's kids if Michael ends up killing Laurie but not her kids. And the product itself, the novelty, the overall characters themselves will begin to wear off, because people then would grow tired as to what they're seeing. Of course, as all good things must eventually come to an end in some way, shape, or form. And with this, I do believe that this is the perfect opportunity to close the chapter of what is Halloween. And if you want to continue down the road in introducing a different concept, then you can. But having to take the overall concept of following the original in allowing the story to carry on 40 years later, you have to stop and beg the question, what can you do after? What could you possibly do after? Are you going to do another time skip and having it happen 5 years after, 10 years after? Michael Myers at this very point in time, following 1978, is very, very old. He's in his 60s. So how much more could you continue a franchise having a 60, 70, possibly even a 80-year-old man pursue you in this really old, worn down mask? And the concept of that is just going to be ridiculous in looking at how old Michael is, the characters, and how much they've aged. And, especially if Michael's mortal at the age of 60, 70, or 80, he can't really move as fluently as he would in his 20s. So I do believe that if they were to carry on, it would have to be something involving either someone dying off or perhaps maybe Michael ends up surviving, but barely, especially if the concept of him being mortal is introduced in this film. Now again, if he can feel pain, if this man can go through some sort of an experience to where he can feel massive amounts of pain, then you can easily have it to where he can be killed off in this film and then write that off from there. But in the end, I want to know from you guys down below, what would you guys rather see in the future of the Halloween franchise? Would you guys rather see some sort of a sequel that follows Michael and Laurie? What are your overall thoughts on a potential sequel? Do you believe it would work? Let me know down below. I want to know your thoughts and theories, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, then don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button. Turn on all notifications if you guys are new. Make sure you guys also slap a like down below. If you guys want to watch more Halloween content such as this, theories, discussions, and news and information updates, make sure you guys click the link down in the description box below and check it out. Thank you all so much for watching once again. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody, and again, I'll see you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.